Despite repeated assurances of improvement, the IndiGo flight crisis continued to disrupt air travel across the country. The airline has now confirmed over 800 cancellations just today, slightly lower than Friday's figure, but the thousands of passengers who were stranded as of yesterday still remain stranded at major airports through the country. Many travelers say that they're struggling with poor communication, long queues and delays in getting refunds, even as IndiGo claims that those refunds are being addressed on priority. The Civil Aviation Ministry has also stepped in with tough orders. All pending refunds for cancelled or disrupted flights must be cleared by 8 p.m. tomorrow. Airlines have also been told not to charge rescheduling fee for affected travellers. Another major concern, which is the baggage chaos. The ministry has also directed IndiGo to locate and deliver all separated luggage within the next 48 hours, warning that any failure will lead to immediate action. This turbulence comes even as DGCA granted IndiGo relaxation in new crew duty rules that the airline had cited as the cause of widespread cancellation. But with hundreds of flights still grounded and disruptions persisting into the weekend, the big question remains, why did the situation spiral out of control? And when will full normalcy finally return for passengers who are still stranded? For now, flyers across India continue to bear the brunt of this aviation meltdown with no clear end in sight.
दादा भाई इधर यहाँ जो इंडिगो की जो मशीनें हैं उसे सड़क पर एक महिला पैसेंजर जो है वो तोड़ रही हैं। इंडिगो की जो मशीन है उसे यहाँ पर तोड़ा जा रहा है और इंडिगो की मशीन को यहाँ पर तोड़ने की कोशिश
कल की फ्लाइट थी। हाँ। ये हमारा चलो ठीक है कैंसिल हो गया, हमें पूरा दिन बिता दिया, रात के 3 बजे निकले और अब ये लोग हमारे लगेज नहीं दे रहे। चेक इन कर लिया लगेज, अब लगेज देने के लिए रेडी नहीं है ये लोग। आपका दिल्ली का हो जाए,
आपका नाम बताइए, क्या नाम है?
मैम आफरा शाह है। मुझे यहाँ से ग्वालियर से दिल्ली का मेरा टिकट था। उन्होंने बोला उसके बाद कि आपका ग्वालियर से दिल्ली कैंसिल हो चुका है, हाँ पर डायरेक्ट फ्लाइट देते हैं तो रिफंड करते हैं। मैंने रिफंड दे दो मुझे। उसके बाद उन्हें मुझे डायरेक्ट टिकट दिया, हम वहाँ पे बैठे।
आराम से शांत हो जाइए। टिकट
मुंबई से ग्वालियर कैंसिल उन्होंने किया, ना मुझे लगा कि आपने कैंसिल करवाया। उसके बाद डायरेक्ट दिल्ली फ्लाइट दिया मुझे और मेरे बेटे का। उसने ना खाना प्रोवाइड किया ना पानी प्रोवाइड किया। हम 17.5 घंटे एयरपोर्ट पे थे। 6 बजे से लेके हम रात के 3 बजे तक एयरपोर्ट पे थे। उसके बाद मैं अपने घर चली गई। मेरे बच्चे को बॉयल्स हुआ है, स्वेलिंग हुआ है, ही इज बीन एडमिटेड इन एयरपोर्ट। उन्होंने कुछ प्रोवाइड नहीं किया, खाना तक प्रोवाइड नहीं किया, पानी तक प्रोवाइड नहीं किया। उसको जो खाना दिया गया उसके बाद में जो बासी इडली था उसको लूज मोशन हो रहा था।
All right, joining us on the show is Captain Anil Rao, General Secretary, Airline Pilots Association of India. Also with us is Captain C.S. Randhawa, President, Federation of Indian Pilots. Captain Prashant Dhalla, former Flight Operations Inspector, DGCA, as well as Squadron Leader Akshay Chopra, Aviation Expert. Thank you very much, all of you, for taking time out, for joining us on the show. This is continuous 5th day of chaos at airports with more than 800 IndiGo flights still cancelled. Captain C.S. Randhawa, coming to you, sir. What are you making of the mess? It's unrelenting, it's persistent, and no matter all the assurances that IndiGo has given, the flight normalcy hasn't returned.
Good evening, Shweta. I'd like to add from December 2 onwards, I have been stressing upon it is nothing to do with the crew shortage. It is nothing to do with the FDTL CAR. This is being deliberately done by IndiGo. The aircraft are on the ground. The crews are not detailed for the flight. So what does this mean? This is very clear indication. And yesterday it was stated by the CEO of the airline that it was planned. Now, if it is planned, why the airline is not being punished to carry out such a chaos all around the country, which is unpardonable. See the state of mind of the passengers and the way they have been harassed. So we had a meeting with the Honorable Minister last afternoon, along with the DG, and in that we had categorically stated that this is not that simple what it looks. It is nothing to do with weather, road ATC congestion, no pilot shortage, no FDTL CR. It is ultimately boiling down to network planning and operational um, planning. That is what it is coming to, and we are very clear from day one that this is the cause of the all these delays, cancellations. Because even if you have 100 to 200 pilots short, you will not be canceling 1,500 flights out of 2,200 flights. On the contrary, see the audacity of the airline that the cancellations, their flights are being cancelled and they're rebooking at 40,000, 50,000. The government should have immediately stopped that. There is no question of the airline when it's cancelling the flights that it starts further booking. And the COE last night said, I don't know how the government of India is saying that it will be restored in 3 days, but the CEO himself said that maybe he'll be able to restore by 15th of December. I would put across if 6-7 lakh passengers are stranded all around the country, I don't think so they'll be able to sustain even by the end of the month. Before that, I think the winter operations will hit, the fog will hit in the northern states.
That's a
Now,
very long timeline, sir. You're saying, but it may end up taking end of this month, and the CEO himself said yesterday it could take about 7 to 8 more days, which is about 15th of December. But even 15th of December, Captain Prashant Dhalla, is a very long time, and there are now conversations happening around how it appears that this wasn't just operational failure. Some are also going on to suggest that this could have just been pre-planned. But what does IndiGo get out of pre-planning such a mess? And in your assessment, sir, if this is operational failure, have you, in your career at DGCA, seen such a massive operational failure?
Well, with all fairness, I would say none of us have seen at such a high level of chaos in the country, so to speak, of the aviation setup. Having said that, we can see a big reset mode in terms of the humanware, in terms of the software, in terms of interventions from the highest office of the country. I was going through your report. It says the Honorable Prime Minister has intervened in this matter, and also I can see a lot of stern remarks given by the Honorable Civil Aviation Minister that they would set an example, and so that such kind of an issue can never happen in the aviation spectrum of the country. Adding to what my senior Captain Randhawa has just said, I totally agree with what he's just mentioned. The way this airline has, I can say, take the liberty to use the word misbehaved with the sentiments of the public. However, we must understand that the scale of operations are huge. It is primarily, we are talking about 65% of the air traffic of the country. And it is going to have a cascading effect. It is going to have an effect on the operations, on the ground crew, on the air traffic control. And normalcy will take approximately around 48 to 72 hours more. Today, we see a number less than 800 of flight cancellations. It is improving. However, there needs to be a major, fact finding. We have to go to the core of the issue. And Director General Civil Aviation has formed a committee headed by the Joint Director General, which is also a positive aspect to this regard.
All right, but it does appear as if the government also woke up a little too late. This is the 6th consecutive day where many passengers are stranded, of which are senior citizens. We just heard from a couple of ladies out there who've been, at the airport for more than 17 hours. There's a couple that missed their own wedding reception. So we're looking at chaos unfolding in various airports. Squadron Leader Akshay, what are we to make of the fact that it's not just IndiGo that failed, but Civil Aviation Ministry, which has now come in and taken cognizance of the matter. Prime Minister's office has intervened. But the price capping that we see today, some of these measures around ensuring that there's a cap on prices, there's a cap on airfare, came in a little too late. Many people we have spoken to ended up paying massive 30, 40, 50,000 for a route that charges you on an average about 10 to 15,000.
First of all, Shweta, thank you. And there are a lot of questions to be asked right now. But to start with, this is the biggest man-made fiasco in the aviation history, not just in India, internationally also. And this is not due to some natural disaster or some cyber attack or IT issue. It's mainly due to utter negligence. Now, some people are saying the IndiGo Airlines has failed. I simply disagree. It hasn't. It has actually flexed. It has flexed its muscles. It has shown that who's in charge of aviation in India. It has shown that the new FDTL rules, simply which are meant to cut fatigue and improve safety, were not for them. It showed again that in India, if you have power and money, you don't have to negotiate, you can actually dictate. It showed that when a player controls over 60% of the aviation market share, you can trigger a nationwide chaos to influence regulations in their own favor. Almost all the pilot associations are shouting on top of their voice to immediately apply and give no compensation in terms of FDTL rules and take a strong legal actions. Now, there are very strong questions I want to ask. Number one, please give me one reason why with 2-year lead time, India's most profitable airlines with a net profit of more than 7,258 crores in financial year 25 cannot comply with the FDTL rules. Number two, how come other major domestic airlines have adjusted to the rules and they are maintaining their buffer crew strength? Number three, despite of the most horrifying Air India 171 crash this year, you are still being granted exemption from the FDTL rule. Why is DGCA and the Aviation Ministry doing it? Number four, and which is very important, why are passengers being compensated only by the amount which they're spending on their tickets? What about the agony they are going through? What about the hotel bills they are spending there? What about the food? Why not they are being compensated with much more amount, and as a punishment, the IndiGo is paying for it? Number five, did DGCA or Aviation Ministry not know that IndiGo has applied a hiring freeze since years and only began recruiting new pilots now when the exemptions have been given? And now on top of that, did the DGCA not know that the Indian Airlines in time of disaster will shamelessly hike their fares up to 40 times, preying on the misfortune of these passengers? Haven't they done it before? Haven't they done it at the time of Operation Sindoor and in cases of lot of festivals?
And natural disasters.
Yeah. So
and in cases of natural disasters, I mean, there's a history in India's aviation sector where until the government intervened, there was no capping on prices, and many of these airlines continued to profiteer at the cost of people's agony. And I think I want to take this question to Captain Anil Rao also. Captain Anil Rao, how do you see government keeping the FDTL rules in abeyance? You heard your previous speaker there. It feels like IndiGo was perhaps flexing its muscles, and it convinced the government and it convinced the regulator that it had to keep FDTL rules in abeyance or to disregard them for now. How do you see the government's move to finally agree to what IndiGo wanted?
See, the FDTL norms which are made are made on a lot of scientific study with international guidelines by the ICAO and other things which are involved is kind of type of operations you do. And then the FDTL, that is the flight duty time limits, are made. So it might not be exactly how the other countries have, because each country or each operator or each area of operations have a different set of duty time limit. And that was the main spirit or the logic behind having a duty time limit, was that once it was made with an intention of max limitation. These FDTL rules which are made are for max limitation, but not a target to be exploited. But unfortunately, what is happening is the operators treat this as their legal right to exploit the max duty time limit. That is not the way it is. Even the previous Director General of Civil Aviation, when they had rolled off with these duty time limitations initially, had categorically said that these limitations are maximum limit, and each operator, each organization should have their own buffer. It is clearly given in the FDTL rule also that each the operator should have his own buffer and should constitute its own duty time limit by keeping these at maximum depending upon the kind of operation they have.
DGCA is trying, the airlines are circumventing it. Please come out with the decision. So in 2-3 hearings, the High Court gave an order. Still, all the airlines came running, jumping, and they wanted it to be implemented in 2 phases. And first phase was 1st July and second phase was 1st of November. There was 60% of the CR was implemented in, 65% of the CR was implemented on 1st of July. There was not a single cancellation by any airline, nor there was any delays. Now 1st November comes. Moment that was implemented, but that had to do with the night landings and the night. The airlines, especially Air India and IndiGo, went running to DGCA asking for dispensation. Now, when they asked for dispensation, the dispensation was granted to Air India some part and some parts to both the airlines or to all the airlines. Now, imagine from 1st of November, they have no cancellations. The cancellations which took place, which the media has been showing 755 pilots, no, those are operational, technical, some crew layover, some AOG. Those are different types of, cancellations which have happened. But it has not happened because of crew shortage. Show me cancellation which happened. Now everything is going hunky-dory.
Right.
Till 28th of November. 28th November, EASA directive comes to carry out an upgrade on the software of 320 aircraft, which are 200 in number for IndiGo.
Right.
Still there is no cancellation. See the fun. No cancellation. There could have been some delays. 1st of December, no cancellation. 2nd of December, when you know that Mr. Putin is going to land up into India, it is well timed. Parliament is in session. And IndiGo goes for this drama.
Okay.
All the aircraft are on the ground. Crew are not detailed for the flights. And they carry out a mass scale problem in the country, all over all the airports in the country. In my 50 years of aviation experience in India or in the world, I've never heard of such a fiasco taking place.
Okay.
So
from what I can hear, sir, you are essentially saying that there appears to be more to it than meeting the eyes. Now, I'm not sure, I will not like to propagate any conspiracy theory on whether IndiGo did it on purpose or not, but let me take this question, from Captain Prashant Dhalla. Captain Prashant Dhalla, do you, in your assessment, feel that there was a purported reason for IndiGo to do what it did? And more importantly, there is a feeling here that IndiGo held the government to ransom, used people, its passengers as cannon fodder. It's nothing like an aviation company would want to do while it wants to continue making money and sustaining in Indian skies. So why would it do it to themselves?
It's a point well taken, Shweta, but we had really worked hard. I was part of the drafting committee when we were forming this particular civil aviation requirement. There was equal and ample opportunity granted to these operators to have these rounds of deliberations, and they were part of regular meetings. So, it was a well drafted rule and part of the Section 7 of the civil aviation requirement. I think it is, again, I would say it is no more a private entity. It's a listed entity. It is the people's money, I can say, is involved in this particular airline now in terms of the working and in terms of the finance. Having said that, it is an airline run by primarily a software. There is no more human intervention involved in this airline now to manage 5,000 plus pilots. It is based on a software. Now they're trying to reboot, or they're trying to add these particular things in this software in terms of the changes made in the particular car. It has totally faltered. It has totally collapsed, and I wish them all the best, that they have to regain the public faith and trust, and they have to get the misery out of all of us, and create a feeling of positivity.
Okay, I think there's a lot of lost trust here that perhaps IndiGo will take years to regain, if not months. In your assessment, Squadron Leader Akshay Chopra, how soon before we can see normalcy retaining and coming back? There are different timelines being given. The CEO says it's going to take us a week. We heard some of your co-panelists here saying it could take up to the end of December, post which things get more difficult due to the onset of heavy winters in Delhi and parts of NCR. So operations here are likely to take a beating and likely to be disrupted, at least in this part of the country. In your assessment, how long before things finally start getting back on track?
I think in this particular case, I'll go with the wordings of Captain Randhawa. And, it'll take at least, I'll say, a week to 10 days before actually you see the operation getting normal, because it's easier said than done. There are lakhs of passengers stranded, and there are thousands and hundreds of claims and a lot of problems which are to be sorted right now. So it's at least 10 days, I must say, that this will be. But again, the operations will start normalizing. You will see the changes soon, because the Ministry of Aviation, DGCA, is on their head now. However, to get everything normal, at least 7 to 10 days.
We are discussing the IndiGo flight crisis, which entered its 6th day, and despite assurances of improvement, IndiGo flight crisis continue to disrupt air travel across the country. Airline confirmed today that over 800 flights were cancelled. Now, this number is slightly lower than Friday's figure, but still left thousands of passengers stranded at major airports across the country. On the show with us is Captain Anil Rao, General Secretary for Airline Pilots Association. Also with us is Captain Prashant Dhalla and Squadron Leader Akshay Chopra. Let me, as far as the responsibility and who should bear the brunt, let me take a question from Captain Anil Rao. Captain Anil Rao, from all that's emerging so far as IndiGo's role in mishandling the situation is concerned, I have to ask you, sir, there is a fact-finding committee in place. The committee will, of course, decide how much IndiGo was responsible for creating, if not deliberately, in our various airports across the country. What should be the penalty for IndiGo, sir, if it's found to be guilty, as many flyers as well as pilots across the country are saying today?
The penalties here are dictated by the regulators, by the law. We are not here somebody to say that you hang him or you do this or you penalize with so much of monetary penalties. We are not here to do that. We are here as an organization, as an association. We are here to enhance safety and implement the rule which was made 2 years back. That's all. And then program yourself. I mean, schedule your operations according to the rule. But what is now happening is the rule is made according to the schedule of the operators. Now, when are we going to stop this? If you go back in history, 2007, the first FDTL which was rolled out in 2007 was put in abeyance exactly the same way, because the operators pressurized them because they were going under the commercial losses. So they removed they removed the rolled out implemented flight duty time limitation 2007 and put in abeyance. Imagine for how long? For 4 years. Till 2011, there was no duty time limit for the crew, and they went back to the archaic circular which was made in 1992, where that study of fatigue risk management was not done. There was no study. It was done only for domestic operations and a few nearby operations, because there were only 2 airlines that time existing.
All right. Captain Prashant Dhalla, for all the people watching the show today, fearing that, now that FDTL rules have been kept in abeyance and we've gone back to, as the speaker earlier was pointing out, archaic rules dating back to 1992, should they be worried about their safety when on Indian skies?
Well, the Air Safety Directorate is keeping a good watch on the entire aviation activities happening in India, and with all seriousness, I can say that the pilot community is, together in solidarity. We know our rules, we know our rights, and it is very important to understand the concept of fatigue. When you're fatigued, no pilot on this planet would ever take a flight. And in all fairness, there is a reporting culture in the airline which still exists. You're supposed to inform the airline, and necessary mitigation steps are supposed to be taken. In terms of any violation activities, I'm sure things will be as it is. This particular instance of IndiGo will not hamper the morale of the pilot community. Safety is always going to be kept at the paramount level in Indian skies, and we have to give some time to this particular episode to regain the trust and faith of the public at large. And IndiGo was on a rampant journey of adding more aircrafts, creating more jobs for everybody involved. So let us all be united in this particular aspect, and get some positivity around.
All right, we will of course try, and I'm assuming that's what everybody wants right now, some normalcy and some positivity. But before I let you all go, Squadron Leader Akshay Chopra, I think the current crisis, sir, has also revealed that it's the passengers who actually remain the weakest and the least protected stakeholders every time something goes wrong, be it with the Indian Airlines or with Indian aviation sector. And they're the ones who continue to bear the brunt. Sir, in your assessment, how should they be compensated today? People who have lost important jobs, prospects of it, people who were not able to make. I saw a video of a woman carrying, the mortal remains of her father, and could not board that flight. I mean, heartbreaking stories emerging, sir. What assurances, what sort of compensations should they be given? Because some of these losses are irreversible. If a person lost a business opportunity, they've lost it for good. If a person could not attend their own wedding reception, they're never going to make it again. There'll never be a reception again. So some of these losses are irreparable.
You're absolutely right, Shweta. And that's why I said in the beginning that the DGCA or the Civil Aviation Ministry has to come in, and they have to decide a decent amount of compensation for the agony which people are going through. If you actually talk about the stories which we are seeing, through your channel and other channels right now, you can actually write a book on this, the cases which we are seeing on the airports. But just by compensating the ticket pricing, actually it makes no sense. There has to be some amount of fine in terms of monetary fine which has to be paid to each particular passenger, and that will be a good learning point even for the airlines in the future. Because every time we see this fiasco happening and such other things happening, airlines flouting rules, then at the end of the day, sufferer is the passenger and he gets nothing in return. Because Indians have a very short memory. After a couple of weeks, we'll forget this fiasco and we'll move on to some other problem which has happened. My question was, just before I ask on your channel, what about the Air India A320 aircraft flying without the airworthiness certificate 8 times? What happened to them? What about the passengers who were flying that time when the airworthiness certificate was expired? So this is something which the DGCA or the Ministry of Aviation has to decide very strongly at this point of time, at least now.
Absolutely. We do have some breaking news coming in. Gentlemen, do stay with us. There was a meeting today, of course, of IndiGo officials and Ministry of Civil Aviation. We're given to understand that the meeting lasted for more than an hour. The ministry has now warned strict action could be taken against IndiGo. According to various sources out there, it now appears that the airline did not follow through with the FDTL rules. The airline has now been asked to return all pending bags to passengers within the next 2 days and not charge any fee for ticket changes and complete all refunds by 8 p.m. tomorrow, which is the Sunday tomorrow. The government will now review IndiGo's operations, especially its recruitment and staffing status every 2 weeks. Before I let you all go, Captain Dalla, do you think this is a little too slow and a little too late? Perhaps this should have been done at least 2 days ago, 3 days ago?
While you breaking this particular news, I was getting some more updates also, and I can very well see on your channel that this stern action is anticipated, and I think by tomorrow we'll see something big happening with the management structure also of IndiGo. So
what are you expecting, sir?
Some changes in the management structure is imminent. I can very well say that.
Okay. Anything that you're listening through your own sources, your own inroads into your own previous organization and its corridors? What are you listening? What are you hearing?
You see, the accountability has to be there, like we have been following for the last 5 days. the government is very stern on their stance. IndiGo has to come out with the right strategy for getting the normalcy, and I can very well say that there will be a great change in the structure of this particular listed entity soon.
All right, there could be changes in the structure of the listed entity. That's a very big development, of course, and we are anticipating that some action will be taken. More clarity will emerge, but that's the latest as far as IndiGo fiasco is concerned. At the 6 p.m. meeting, we're given to understand IndiGo has been given a very strict and clear warning to get its operations back on track, and there will be follow-through action, of course, by the way of changes in management. That's what Captain Dhalla is also pointing out. And, as far as operations is concerned, they're also looking at now recruitment and staffing status. Is that something the government can do? Squadron leader with a company which is publicly listed but still a private company. Can a government really ask them to hire more people? And is that something government can ensure will happen? Because as we were pointing out in our many discussions prior to this, it takes a very long time to hire a pilot and train a pilot.
So Shweta, already the moment the IndiGo was given the exemption, they've already started the recruitment, which they had frozen long time back, and this is due to the pressure itself of the government. Thankfully, the government came in and said this. But now the recruitments are on. But again, it will take some time for the trained pilots to come in and get in hands-on training. So that's why they've asked the time till at least February for all these things to take place, and maybe some more days can be given, but at least this type of fiasco can be averted in the future.
More breaking news coming in, gentlemen. It is given to understand that IndiGo has been told in no uncertain terms that it's high time they pull up their socks or they will face action. In fact, IndiGo has also been told that the government of India has the requisite power to sack the CEO as well. So that's a clear warning there. Captain Dhalla, is that what you were referring to? The government, of course, saying that the government, it can, if needed, sack the CEO if the current disruptions continue.
You see, I was primarily talking about an air operator permit. IndiGo holds a schedule operator permit in which there are certain number of post holders. The accountable manager will also be there, and we have other post holders in terms of the operations, the safety, the security, and the training part. So, I mean, it is too early to comment upon it. Let me also go back to my sources, and I think we should get some stern action in terms, like I said on your channel, in terms of some heads rolling.